Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome back with a new lesson. Today's lesson is population studies. It's textbook unit 4 lesson number 1, and you can find this lesson from page number 146 to 149. Basically this is half of the lesson that we are going to discuss today. Half of the remaining lesson we will inshallah discuss in the next week's lesson. Starting with our lesson today, let's move on to the lesson objective, or you can say the benchmarks. Lessons benchmarks are that in this lesson you will read and interpret the graphs and diagrams to learn about the size of the world's population and how it has changed over the time. You will also study the maps to see how the world population is distributed around the world. You will understand why some places are more densely populated than the other places, and you will learn about population pyramids and compare the population pyramids from different countries. These are the lessons benchmarks. So let's move on to the first question. The size of the world population. In front of you there is a picture. You can see that there are 6 different pictures of the earth, and there are some dots. Top left, number 1 picture is about, you can see there are 2 dots, and the third one is half. The half dot is in Africa. Then there is 1 dot in Middle East and 1 dot in Southeastern Europe. Basically these dots represent the population of the world. Each dot represents around 100 million people. So this the first globe represents actually the world population around year 1 AD. You must know that today the world population is more than 7 billion people on the earth, and year 1 AD the population was estimated to be around 250 million people, because there are 2 round dots and 1 half dot on the first picture. Then the world population started to grow. Human communities grow in size. They had farming. They were able to grow food, so the human population started to increase. On the next globe you can see there are, instead of 3 dots as compared to the first picture, there are now 4 dots, which means around 10 million people were living on different places in the earth. Going through all these pictures, you can see that today the world population is how much in numbers. This is only half of the world in front of you, the last globe and the 6 globes in front of you, and look at the number of dots which represents that millions of people are living on the world as compared to the number 1 globe in the top left corner. That's why as I told you, today's the world population is more than 7 billion people living on earth. So this is how the world population has changed over the period of time from year 1 AD to year 2020, and today we are in year 2020, and the world population is more than 7 billion people. Okay, this slide is about the same point that we were discussing in the last slide, but it is presented in a different way. Here you can see it is a graph that tells the same story, that how the world population grew over the period of time. You can see bottom left corner of the graph, the year 1 AD, the population of the world was around 250 million people, estimated, not confirmed, but estimated. And it continued to grow slowly and gradually. The rise in the graph was not that much sharp. It rises smoothly and steadily until 1800 years. It took 1800 years to reach the 1 billion mark. And then number of peoples grew. It means that the world population slowly and gradually started to grow faster than the past, because more number of people means more number of births. So that's why from year 1800 onward to around 1930s, we can see that the world population took around 127 years to reach 2 billion mark. From that onward, it immediately or it sharply rise, and you can see that the graph within a very short period of time. Now 2000, it shows that the world population is around 6 billion people, and it is showing that if this rise continues, it is estimated that the world population will grow up to 10 billion mark in the year 2038. It is predicted, it is estimated, it is not confirmed. It can be down, it can be up, but comparing the current growth in the population of the world, we can estimate that if it continues with the same rate, it can be possible that it will reach 10 billion mark in year 2038. So this is how the graph tells you the story, that the population of the world increases over the period of time from year 180 until year 2000, and what is estimated based on the previous data we have in our record. Based on these records, we can estimate that the population can reach 10 billion in year 2038. In this slide, we are going to discuss regional differences of the population around the world. You must know that there are some regions in the world that are more populated and some regions are less populated. The regions that are more populated, they are Africa, Asia, and South America. And the regions that are less populated are North America, Europe, and Australia. You must understand that why this difference is there. Basically, Africa, Asia, and South America are underdeveloped regions. They are poor, economically not stable, yet they have a higher population growth rate. People in these regions may not have enough food, and clean water is not sufficiently available. Healthcare facilities are poor, yet their population is growing at a rapid pace. The reason behind this is that the countries in these regions, they have very poor population control policies. They are unable to control their birth rate. In fact, in many of these countries, the birth rate is higher than the death rate. The death rate is not that much low actually. Basically, people they die at a high rate, but still the problem here is that the birth rate is higher than the death rate. That's why population is increasing so fast. But if you look at the rich countries, or you can say the countries of North America and Europe and Australia, the population is not growing because the death rate is very low because people live longer. But at the same time, their birth rate is also very low. It is very controlled. So the number of people dying in 1 year are more than the number of people getting birth. That's why we can say in actual cases in some areas the population is actually decreasing. So that's what we are going to discuss in the next few slides. Let's move on to the next topic. As we discussed in the previous slide that in developed countries like Europe, America, Japan, most people have enough food and they have better quality healthcare system and they have better quality food to eat. So they live longer, they have higher life expectancy, they don't die very early, they have higher age levels in their country. Average age level is more than 80 years in countries like America and Japan. But at the same time, the birth rate is also very limited, very controlled. That's why the population in countries like Sweden is decreasing actually, because the number of babies born are less than the number of people die in that country in 1 year. That's why population is actually decreasing. This is the bar graph that tells you how the population of the world has increased since 1950s. You can see that different colors represent different continents. Africa with the purple color, Latin America gray color, North America green, Asia red, Europe blue, and Oceania group is orange color. Oceania's population was even 1960 very minimal, and though it increased, it still is the least populated area of the world. The continent that witnessed the highest growth in the world population is Asia. You can see the red color. In 1960s, it was the population of the continent was around less than 3 billion. Actually, it was slightly above the 2 billion mark. But now the population of Asia is around 3 billion or 4 billion actually, because it has doubled. And same is the case, you can see the population of Africa, for example. In 1960, it was very minimal, and now within 50 years, it has almost 3 times increased. So this bar graph actually tells how the population in different areas of the world have increased over the past 50 years. The Europe's population is almost same. You can see there is not much difference between 1960 and year 2012. So this is how the bar graph tells us that different regions of the world they witnessed uh, population differentiation between the past and today. This slide actually tells us about population growth and the pressure on Earth's resources. You must know that the number of people are growing, but the Earth's resources are limited. They are not unlimited. The area that was available 5,000 years ago is the same, the area to live and to produce the food. But 5,000 years ago, the consumers were very few. But today, the number of consumers for the same area for the same available resources are 7 billion. So it means that there is very high competition for the earth's resources. As the population increases, people need more space to live. They have to build houses, they have to grow more food, but the land physically is the same. So it means that the number of people growing results in the decrease of Earth's resources and available space for every person living on the Earth. Here in the last few lines, you can see that the Earth area basically physically is the same, but the livable area is diminishing, and also for the farming, it is diminishing, which means that if one side is increasing, the other side is decreasing. The same story is on the next slide. This picture is about the bar graphs actually. You can see that the red portion of the bars tells us that the world population in 1950 was 2 billion. It increased to 6 billion in 1999, and in 2025 it is expected to cross 8 billion people. If you just use this red portion of the graph to compare with the green one, you can see that 1952 billion people means that available area for each person on earth was around 4,250 square meter for agriculture and living purposes. This area for every person decreased to 2,250 square meter for each person in 2025, because the red bar says that the number of people at that time were more than 6 billion people, and in 2030 it is expected to further decrease, because we estimate that the number of people at that time will be more than 8 billion people. Same is the case, you can see the impact of world population on the food production for the earth. You can see the blue color bar graph tells you the entire story. In 1960, 1 hectare of land, hectare is basically a unit of land, it is a small area. 1 hectare of land was responsible to feed 2 people, because only 2 people were to be fed by this 1 hectare of land. But when the population grew up, now the pressure increased, and the same 1 hectare of land was now responsible to feed 4 people in 1995. And in 2025, it is estimated that the same 1 hectare of land will have to feed 5 people, because the Earth's population is estimated to be more than 8 billion people. From here, you can analyze that how the world population, when it is increasing, it is impacting the world resources, and how the future will be if we will not control the growth of population. I hope it will help you understand the topic. We will inshallah meet again with the remaining portion of the lesson. See you soon. Thank you very much.